Good evening, everyone. It's Christopher Hale here in Rutherford County. Honored to be with you here tonight, Thursday night. Tonight, I am joined by two advocates, two organizers from the Bedford County listening party. These two women have been fighting hard, tooth and nail, to be a voice for the marginalized communities in Bedford County. But in particular, over the past year, they have been focused on housing issues and inaccessibility to affordable housing and landlord-tenant issues. This news has made headlines before COVID-19. The National Public Radio, NPR in Nashville, put up a story in particular about one landlord whose record is very questionable. Honestly, Bedford Falls had Mr. Potter in the 1940 classic, It's a Wonderful Life. Well, it seems that in 2020, Bedford County, Tennessee has its own Mr. Potter, if these reports are to be believed. We have Stephanie Isaacs and Kelly Sue Walker, who are with the Listening Project, and I'm honored to have them here tonight to tell us what's going on with the housing crisis in Bedford County, in Shelbyville, Ward Trace, Bell Buckle, and Unionville. And so we'll have them join us right now. Now, Stephanie, Miss Kelly, can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you.
Oh. Perfect. Well, ladies, just very briefly, can you go ahead and give us a sense, and we'll start with you, Stephanie. Can you tell us the origins of the Listening Project, what it is y'all are doing, and how you all got particularly involved in the issue of housing in Bedford County?
Well, it started, we began door knocking in Shelbyville to see what folks liked or disliked about the community. We wanted people to come together and work together to move other hate groups out and keep them out. So we started door knocking. And when we started door knocking, renter issues was so widespread. Everyone we talked to just about had renter issues, had lived in a bad housing. It was, we saw some really terrible things on the doors. And that's when the Bedford County Listening Project was born, and we started doing a housing survey. And let's see, our survey, we surveyed 250 people, talked to people that their kids and them, this one lady had 5 kids, and she went without having a toilet for over 2 weeks and had to take her kids back and forth to the gas station, had to put a bucket in her living room for them in the nighttime. We talked to a lady who fell through her floor, kids and women and children and families that couldn't sleep at night because they had bed bugs so bad. If you tore open a wall, stuff would be coming out, just horrible things that you can't unsee. And so that's why we're doing what we're doing now, to get the community together to stand up and say, you know what, just because we're in the South and we're rural and we're a small town, we still deserve to have protections from this.
Well, it's interesting. I want to go on that context really in itself too. The idea that we always think about housing as an urban issue, housing problems as an urban issue, but you've seen in this project that it's a rural issue as well. Kelly Sue, can you tell me a little bit about this? Oh, you're an organizer by trade. Can you tell me a little bit about this door-to-door survey that you all did and what you found out, which happened, mind you, before COVID-19, but created a lot of news waves?
So we spent a year knocking doors with a survey. Other renters and people in the community completed this survey with other renters. They filled out this survey online. They filled it out in person, and it asked them directly, what are kind of the repairs that you haven't had made? Have you had trouble finding safe and affordable housing? Does your landlord fix things? And how long does it take? And there was 1 week, 2 weeks. Most people put never. This survey was meant to really expose what a lot of people already knew what was going on. Because as an organizer, I know that many people will know about issues, but if the right people aren't repeating those issues, sometimes people won't listen. And so we did this press conference in which renters themselves stood in front of City Hall and they read statements about issues they had faced, and we released the report. And the report has a lot of statistics. You can find that report online, and we can share a link to it. That survey was meant to open a conversation, which it did. We ended up having a sit down with the city and with the county. You can read about the stories, the statistics that happen, and there's a portion of that survey that very clearly states the things that we want. We want the codes department to enforce codes. We want to remove barriers to reporting codes issues because for fear of retaliation. And we want the county to pass, this is a long one, the Uniform Residential Landlord Tenant Act. We want them to pass this because it would add a basis and a first step towards solving some of the landlord-tenant issues.
And tell me a little bit. So this is an act that basically creates a uniform code across the state when a city reaches a county reaches a certain threshold. And a few things I learned about the act, and maybe you can fill in some spaces. Let's say I'm a landlord, and let's say I'm a tenant, and my landlord refuses to fix a primary function of the home. The door's broken. Well, I can go repair that. And let's say my rent's $550 a month, and to replace the door at a reasonable price, it's $475. Well, I only owe the landlord $75 because I've made a necessary repair that he or she will not make. So it gives basically just baseline protections to ensure you're not getting screwed over. And is that correct?
Yes, there are parts of URLTA that would allow for some repair and deduct. It's a little more complicated, but it would make it more possible because right now in Bedford County, because they are covered under rural case law, which basically means it's just based on past cases, there are no protections like that. You are not guaranteed habitability in Bedford County.
Well, and it's remarkable because we took this. Okay, so our governor, he ran on being a champion for rural America. But you need protection. Like what's remarkable about a housing crisis in this state is, yes, does Nashville have a housing crisis? You betcha. Does Shelby County, Memphis? Yes. But what the report in NPR made so clear is because people are being priced out of these markets, these more expensive markets. I'm in Rutherford. Bedford is less expensive. Rutherford. They go to where they can afford. Now, I want to bring in Stephanie. I want to talk specifically about the guy I'm calling Mr. Potter. And I'm sure I'll get a legal letter from him soon. Can you tell me what is going on with Mr. Allison's Peacock Realty? Because it seems that so if I understand correctly, the data I found is he has about 100 units in Shelbyville in particular. So he is the biggest, I believe, the biggest landlord in the community. But he has tremendous problems with his renters. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Stephanie?
Knocking doors and talking to people. You know, he's one of the number one landlords that we get complaints about, that he's not fixing things, or he is harassing people, or he, just kicking people out, making people pay these late fees that if you're not there by the exact time on this day, then he's going to take you to court, and getting further into him, because we already had all these bad issues before the COVID hit. Okay. But then, the COVID hit and the pandemic hit, and we started getting calls about people were getting, it's what we call self-help eviction, where a landlord will try to cut somebody's power, or they'll try to change the locks on the door, anything they can do to push somebody out without having to go through the courts. And we've heard so many stories. This lady, her son had a health issue, and his medical equipment needed to be plugged up, and she had to send him to live somewhere else because Robert Allison cut their power and doesn't care. In fact, he lives in a really big, nice house in the historical district of Bell Buckle, while people are living in slums and in horrible conditions, and I feel bad for people that have to do the stay at home in his properties. Imagine that. When half the things don't work.
It's interesting to me too, because what we have is a situation where Robert Allison is skirting the law. He's a Georgetown educated lawyer. He went to UVA for undergrad. He's a smart guy, it seems that perhaps he's abusing that sacred oath that a lawyer has to use the law as a means of the common good and protecting the women and men of this great state. He's abused that in some powers. But also, too, there's another powerful official in this community, the mayor, the county mayor, who has constitutional authority, but also not to be forgotten, political authority. Is it fair to say that if the mayor stepped up and told Robert Allison to stop this, that a lot of this stuff could end immediately?
I think that would have quite an effect on it. I'll tell you, when we started getting phone calls, I called Mayor Chad Graham and I told him what was happening about the self-evictions, and he was not very nice about it. And he told me that he didn't know that to be true. And what's funny about that, about him not knowing that to be true, is we've gotten reports from people that before he was the mayor, the county mayor, that he helped certain people manage properties. And so, and there were some not very nice stories about that too that we heard. But you know what's going on. You know people are going through this. And it just felt like, how are people supposed to stand up for themselves and try to tell people what's going on if you're not going to believe them? Or if that's not cool that the person that you voted into office can't stand up for you.
It's remarkable to me, to be honest, too, because what it represents is, and, I have a big congressional district. There's 16 counties. The sizes, I kind of put them in 3 tiers, and Bedford would be one of the smallest sizes. It is, if you are in the marginalized, if you are in the minority, if you are in the powerless, it is very hard to go against the power structure. I live in Rutherford County. If someone doesn't like me, I can move to the other side of the county and I can find different cultures to exist in. But in rural towns and small town America, there is no recourse. Like if Robert Allison screws you over, the mayor ain't going to help you, and you got nowhere else to go. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And so it helps. I think it helps contextualize that while people go through rural America, understandably for the way of life, that there needs to be a purpose of government to protect that way of life, to ensure that everyone can have that access to the way of life. I want to bring both you and Kelly Sue. Give me a sense of, particularly in COVID-19. I know you all have fears. I believe the courts in the state of Tennessee open up in Bedford County, I think at the end of this week. I think like at the end of this week, we start reopening. What are some worst possibilities that could happen, and what are the steps forward?
One of the worst possibilities is that if Judge Charles Rich allows it and allows all of these cases to be brought into civil court, we talked to 100 people this week through text and phone calls. And at least 30 of those people are on the verge of eviction or have already been told by their landlord that they're going to be filed against. And many of those same people are still waiting on their stimulus. Their unemployment checks came late. They're paying somewhere between $180 and $220 a week in rent, with $20 late fees a week from Peacock Realty. And if they end up in the court system, he may end up letting them pay a little and making a payment plan. But on top of now they have court fees. I've seen someone go from owing $300, they end up in court, and then they owe $900, which means they owe an additional $20 a week every week that they aren't caught up on that $900, which is never going to happen. It's almost like servitude. You're stuck there. And once you owe him money, you owe him money forever. And he's not going to.
Well, he is the payday lender of Bedford County. He is the payday lender who there is no bigger debt king in Bedford County, I don't think, than Robert Allison. And once again, I'm excited for your letter, Robert. I look forward to reading it. And if you want to go to Discovery with me, let's go to Discovery and find out the facts. Because it seems to me that it's been really hard for y'all to stand up to this man and to stand up and get – and I don't know Mayor Graham, but he has more authority than the three of us. He is an elected figure. He was elected by the people of Bedford County. It does seem to me that there's a role for government that has been diluted. Is there other people in government you have sought out help from, and what has the response been?
So we went in front of the Bedford County Laws and Legislative Committee and presented, well, Stephanie presented, I did not present presented around the Uniform Residential Landlord Tenant Act, which to try to get that passed. And they actually didn't let us go through public comment, but they did listen and they are working on it. And we're hoping we'll know more June 16th when we go back to the commissioner meeting. We've also sat down with City Manager Shanna Boyette, and we talked to her about the need for administrative changes in enforcing codes and an eventual resolution that provides more protections in the city, because there are codes that are being ignored. The code person is telling people, oh, you'll get evicted if you report this. Well, of course they're not going to report it if they think they're going to get evicted. And the truth is he might evict them, but there should be a mechanism in place to protect people from that. A resolution, like you said, our government should help us. They should protect us. And while they've been in conversations with us, it's not like they've been fast. The only reason they've responded is pressure. That means showing up to city council meetings, people like activating people around why are city council meetings important? Why are county commissioner meetings important? Who votes for who? How do we vote them out? Some of these people only win these seats by like 500 votes. Well, there's 500 renters that we talk to all the time. If they're not.
And what strikes me about it is, and I think this is so prescient to me, so prominent to me, is it's not like there's an economy that these people have been able to participate in for the past 3 months. The government rightly told them to not go to work, and so to not earn money. But they also told Robert Allison that he can continue to collect, but he's squeezing water out of a rock. It ain't coming. It ain't coming. So the most remarkable thing to me is that Robert Allison, when he gets a check from these tenants, it's because these tenants got a check from the federal government. The federal government wrote a check, and it's just going. I mean, I would love to see Robert Allison's bottom pocket that was paid for by Washington, D.C. And the reality of it is, unless we take, and obviously we need Bedford County to take action, but we need the state of Tennessee to take action, and we need the federal government to step in as well. And once again, I really want to, I think it's very important. We always view housing issues in an urban context, but rural poverty and rural housing is just as important as urban poverty and urban housing. What can we do? We have a few questions, but what can we do in these next days? And Stephanie, I'll let you take this, to support what you all are doing on the ground to lift up these stories. We need to get this story out there. God bless NPR, Nashville. That's not enough. We need to get this story out there because it seems what's happening is a travesty, a moral travesty. What can we do to help you?
Okay. So knowing that the courts are about to open, we know people have already gotten their eviction notices. They're scared. The homeless shelter is filled up. There's nowhere for these people to go. So here at the Bedford County Listening Project, we are trying to raise donations so we can help renters stay in their home and, do what we can do with them. And we also, as we're working this out with landlords, we want them to agree to not charge them late fees. We want them to agree on certain things that they have to stick with in order to get their money. And I think, if you're a landlord and you refuse money and you refuse to let somebody keep their home during a pandemic, then that's pretty bad. That's pretty terrible. Me and you weren't raised the same way then. But that's what we want y'all to do. If you can donate, if you want to come by our page, you want to help us make phone calls, you want to call some county commissioners with us, we would love to have you join us. And also, I think we're going to drop the GoFundMe we started for the renter relief. Yeah.
Well, and one thing I want to commit, and I want this campaign to commit to, is I will help if you all are open to it. I think we need some public records requests, because I think that what we need to find out what the decision-making process was that Mayor Graham had. Was Mayor Graham in conversation with our landlord Allison? Was there conversations? And I think the public has the right to know, because it seems to me that Mayor Graham, a good Christian man, has read the Bible and knows the Gospel of St. Matthew, where it says God will judge us how we treat those in need of housing, especially in the context of the most major health crisis in the history of this country. So I want to commit to both of you all that I will do whatever it takes to help get those documents. As we kind of come to the close here, as we come to the next steps, I want to ask you a very just a broad stroke question. Is what is it that I'm running for United States Congress. It's a little bit different than local government, but there's an aspect of being involved in local government. What is it that you want from me and elected officials in regards to this issue, but also in regards to the issues that people face in your hometown, in your home community, in Bedford County, in Shelbyville, Ward Trace, Bell Buckle, and the rest?
I feel like even when it comes to our local representatives, even if you can't make something to change this, then since we voted you in, you should find who can do something to change this, where, this can happen at, and to listen to your constituents and to do what you can to find out the information that they need. And if you need to speak to a higher up person in the government, then you do that. That's what we need. We need somebody that's going to be our voice. I think Kelly Sue can say more on that too.
I think from someone at the federal level representing Tennessee, we need someone who is going to understand that, especially in rural areas, people need insurance. They need rural hospitals. We need people who are going to help fund those things. And I personally think one of those ways is that everyone has insurance. The other thing that I think from federal folks is back in the 70s, the federal government tried to pass UROLTA on a national federal level to cover everywhere. And I think that UROLTA could be adjusted and could be passed at a federal level. And I would like to see that taken on by someone. I would also like to see it taken on a federal level that states cannot pass so much state preemption. We are preempted all the time. I think we should be working on shutting down private prisons. I have a lot of opinions on what federal folks should be doing, people with power.
Well, and I think, I've been working on this issue with the Bledsoe County Correctional Facility. That is not a private prison. Trousdale Turner is, but it's remarkable to me when I do these town halls in 16 counties, it's educational. Like, you are educating me. You cannot represent who you do not know. And you have to learn from the people who are there. I cannot live in all 16 counties. I can only live in the context of my home, my 2 feet. And so I appreciate learning from y'all. One thing I want to highlight on Kelly Sue Walker, what she said is that to me, what was hidden it has to be so abundantly clear that healthcare is a God-given human right to every Tennessean. It's as vital as housing and food. It's necessary. And we know that in these GOP-dominated areas of rural Tennessee, we are the ones who get screwed over first. So I promise you, as long as God gives me breath, I will fight for health care and rural hospitals, good jobs, and living wages. And as we go forward on this issue, I can't wait to work with you all. We're going to put Mayor Graham, I'm probably not going to get his vote. That's okay, but we're going to put his feet to the fire, and we're going to fight for those people who deserve access to housing during this time. So Kelly, Stephanie, thank y'all for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. That was Kelly Sue Walker and Stephanie Isaacs. A very quick commercial. Every day I highlight on my Facebook page, and we pay for ads to support local businesses in all 16 counties. Today I'm highlighting Starbreak Car Wash here in Murfreesboro, a family-owned shop in Murfreesboro. Look, folks, politics is dirty. And so that, Congressman Desjardins does a lot of mudslinging. So that means my car needs deep cleaning about twice a month. So I go to Starbright Car Wash because I know they're reliable, they're affordable, and they're family owned. Please support them during these tough times. Please support family-owned businesses. The corporations are doing fine. Support family-owned businesses during the context of these difficult times. I want to close out here and just talk a little bit about what's at stake for this campaign. I am running for the United States Congress in the 4th Congressional District. I want you to know this. In 159 days, Scott Desjardins has a lot of names for me. He will have a new name, and it will be Congressman. We're going to win this election. Our campaign is taking off across this country. We have literally thousands of donations from Mountain City to Memphis, from Tennesseans of all different stripes, Democrats, Republicans, and most importantly, those who are completely done with the political process altogether. I need your support. My opponent is supported by the rich and the powerful. the men in silk suits who ride limousines to work as CEOs of healthcare companies that screw over our families. I am supported 100% grassroots by you and your family. The average donation to my campaign is $27.11. I also need to know that you're with me. If you live in my district and you're going to vote for me, tell us right now so that we can get you into our system so that you know we're with us. It helps us use our resources more wisely and to help you vote and have your right to vote exercised. You can text hell yes to 31996. That's hell yes to 31996. If you want a sign, you can do so by going to our website once again at christopherhale.com, and under Take Action, you can get a sign. These are the most popular signs in the state of Tennessee. We want thousands of them dotting the state throughout this campaign. I appreciate your support. These $5 monthly contributions that people are giving are really important to the base of our campaign. They don't feed me. You understand? They don't feed me. They feed this movement. They feed our organizers. They feed what we're doing in across the state of Tennessee. They feed our movement to bring generational change to Tennessee and America. It is time to drain the swamp. The president is right, but the swamp is full with Scott Desjardins. It's time to get him out there. A decade, he's made $1.7 million. He's voted 80 times to take away health care from you and your family. Bedford County, he's voted to take away your health care 80 times. During the midst of this great pandemic, before it came, he did nothing to stop it. Now that he's here, he's doing nothing to help us. He's voted no on free virus testing, on the small business stimulus, on paid sick leave. This man has done nothing to earn your vote. In 10 years, the only thing you got was a renamed post office. I'm going to win this election, but I'm only going to do it if you're with me tonight. I need you. I'll fight for you and your family. You know me, and I know you. To every Tennessean who's struggling tonight, whether from this deadly virus, the inability to find good work, a checkered past, or a dim future, I want you to know this. I'm going to walk with you the entire way forward. Help is on the way. God bless Tennessee, and God protect our troops. I'll see you soon.